water loop.
Welcome to Waterloop, the podcast exploring solutions for sustainability and equity in water. I'm the host, Travis Loop. This is episode number 196, How to Taste Water. A sommelier is commonly associated with wine expertise, but there is a category of professionals specializing in the assessment of water's taste, texture, and quality. These experts offer valuable insights into attributes like mineral composition, source, and purity, all of which are explored in this episode featuring Milin Patel, a water sommelier and consultant. Milin takes the podcast host on a journey through a water tasting experience, featuring a variety of waters, including municipal tap water, reverse osmosis-treated water, and well-known bottled brands. Additionally, Milin delves into the sommelier's role in public outreach and discusses how people react to educational experiences centered around water tasting. Before starting, I want to tell you about this episode's sponsor, Flume Utility and Business Solutions. I have a Flume system at my house to track water use in real time and show me what's happening on my smartphone. Flume also provides crucial insights to water providers and state and regional planning agencies, enabling them to conserve water, stop leaks, plan for the future, comply with regulations, and so much more. Flume is partnering with leading water utilities across the country, such as the San Antonio Water System, Orange County Municipal Water District, and East Bay Municipal Utilities District. Flume's nationwide network of sensors collect residential water use data at 5-second intervals. It provides detailed analysis of how water is used indoors and out, even down to the fixture level. To learn more, visit flumewater.com and please reach out to their team at partnerships@flumewater.com.
You're in the water loop.
Milin, I am so glad to have you on Waterloop. We've been connected for a while. I've been fascinated by your work and inspired by your work, so glad to be here to chat.
Yes, Travis, thank you for the invitation, and likewise, I really enjoy your content. And I must say, watching your content, I was like, where were you when I was young? To get this information of, like the travels that you do, etc. It's great, and I wish Netflix would just have a dedicated channel for water,
There's so many great water content creators out there, right? We know there's all these other podcasts and people doing good videos, and so we should all kind of come together and make that happen. A water streaming service, no pun intended. All right, so you are a water sommelier, right? Everybody's familiar with sommeliers for wine. You're one of the very few water sommeliers I've even heard of or seen in person. What does that mean?
Yeah, so that means like the whole sommelier element. My actual day job is a water professional for water treatment, water hygiene. I've been in the water industry for over 20 years. And from a young age, I knew this is exactly the career that I wanted to take. So the whole element of the water sommelier was where, I was on the tools with your portable test kit or doing lab work, going to sites from cooling to steam generation to hospitals, etc. We would always measure TDS with a meter. And I would conduct reports for the clients, how we could save energy, bleed recycles, whatever it was. And it just sort of hit me that, what does TDS taste like? I'm measuring it, but what does calcium, magnesium, potassium actually taste like? So the whole sommelier element was a focus on a passion of mine of learning about water source. But then what got me with water, you would always have a TDS element, and it would outline types of minerals within the water. So I just put it up on myself to explore this further and try to differentiate between different styles of TDS waters and try to create a vocabulary around it on how to describe different waters. And the reason for this was that we've got a global vocabulary for tea, coffee, whiskey, gin. Every other beverage has a vocabulary except for water. So how do we communicate the value of water if there's not a vocabulary to use or to be encouraged to use? So that was the element of the water sommelier, a hobby that people were kind of laughing at. But I was like, you know what, I don't care. I'm having fun. I love discovering water sources, springs, the backstories of these springs, mythical legends that used to live around the springs, the geology, the terroir. Once you start diving into this, it's absolutely fascinating of how, say, Mother Nature's vending machine creates these fantastic waters all around the world. And it's just spun into this educational element where I was just talking to people about what I've learned, what I've researched, what I've tasted, variety of different waters from different regions. And people started to get a bit more engaged with it. So I started doing school presentations just off my own back. I'm not funded by anybody. It was just a bit of a hobby. I quite enjoyed it. But what kept on happening was this amazing, beautiful reaction from families and children of, like, you could see it in their eyes, like, wow, why weren't we taught this at school to appreciate and research water in that way, like we do with fine wines and fine whiskies and fine spirits? You know, we celebrate these. They all come in a beautiful glassware when we're pouring them at a restaurant, at a dinner. You know, the wine's never in a crappy looking tumbler. It's in the best stemware.
Right.
Why not water? Why? So
talk about this. How do you go about tasting water? And I'll say that I've got a bunch of waters here with me, and we'll move into that at the right time. But talk about how you do this first of all. Like what it seems simple, right? But could you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So we've got this absolute disconnect to water. We drink it and we do not pay attention to the actual taste of it. So there is no right or wrong of tasting water, and it's all down to your personal vocabulary that you create and the mouthfeel and the taste that you experience. So when I get asked this question, it's more like mindfulness in the sense of drink the water, say at room temperature, and just allow your mind to really focus on mouthfeel and taste, and allow your own personal vocabulary to be expressed. A pen and paper while you're tasting waters. You know, it could be the taste, it could be the mouthfeel. It could remind you of a certain time in your life, you know, a visit to your grandparents' house, a time that you went away abroad. So it's there, everyone can do it, but we have never been encouraged from a young age to taste water. It is a case of we drink water to sustain ourselves for hydration, and that's about it. But once you start exploring different waters, and Mother Nature, tap waters, natural source waters, has more flavour than Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola put together. And it's all there to be explored. So what I encourage is, when you're first starting out, genuinely, tap water is the best. It's all, for me, it's all about the tap water. Try the tap waters from other regions, or if you've got families coming from different areas, bring those along. And then carefully select some natural source waters as well. Pen and paper, and just dive in deep. Allow your mind, your sensory elements to create the vocabulary.
Yeah, you know, it's a couple thoughts. I guess I've somewhat paid attention to the taste of water. I've mostly paid attention when the water taste is more of an outlier, like something really is strong about it in some way. I find this in a lot of like coastal communities and beach communities. I don't know if it's something in the TDS of their water, but it's very strong. And I'll admit that there's a number of beach communities where I'm like, I don't like that water, actually. It tastes, it's overwhelming in some way that I don't like. And then you definitely get different experiences with different bottled waters. I think especially like you say, that mouthfeel, I really notice like a different texture or whatever it might be. What is that? Is that like the calcium hardness, or what creates like that different feel in the mouth?
So as we know, the total dissolved solids is the accumulation of different minerals: calcium, magnesium, potassium, silicas, bicarbonates, etc. So like each water will have that distinctive taste or mouthfeel that you're experiencing. However, from experience with like exploring different waters, tap waters to natural source bottled waters, you always find a surprise, because you might think, okay, these two waters have very high calcium levels, so they may taste similar. But majority of the time they taste completely different, because it's just the levels of different minerals, and there's not two waters that are the same in the world. So each water provides an experience, further learning of taste, a better understanding of TDS levels, but then also the terroir and the geology of that area where the water is produced, if it's tap water or natural source, has a very heavy influence on what you taste. So they explain terroir with wine. It's identical to water.
Wow. Well, one other thought, I have my 12-year-old son and his friends. I hear them have discussions actually about waters, and especially like the bottled water brands they like or don't like. Like they talk about Fiji, they talk about Dasani, and they're like, oh yeah, that one's good. Oh, that's the best. And it's just kind of funny to hear these 12-year-olds actually like rating the different bottled waters they get. That's usually spurred by the fact they hear me talking about water. Everybody knows my thing, but it's interesting, right, to hear 12-year-olds like bring that up.
Yeah, and I genuinely, like, if I could get some support or, beautiful platforms like yours, where genuinely the work that I've been doing in schools, it takes 15 minutes with a water tasting with, say, year 5 and above, or 5-year-olds and above. 15 minutes of just giving them the backstory of the waters and actually letting them taste them, and letting them, with a pen, whiteboard, and just let them write what they feel, have that discussion in the classroom. Right there, it will click straight in their minds that water is more valuable. Water has taste. You can use vocabulary to describe water, and that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Yeah.
So let's do some experimenting here. Very interested. I also feel like I feel some pressure to be able to describe these things or to tell differences, right? Like
when I conduct water tastings, genuinely, there is no right or wrong. Whatever pops into your mind, it doesn't always have to be taste, mouthfeel. Does it remind you of something? And I get that a lot when I do my aquatastology boards. This reminds me of chilling on the beach or my grandmother's house, or the gig that we just did in New York. We had a huge whiteboard, and at the end of it, the vocabulary that was being used to describe water, it was mind-blowing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so what should I start with here? I'll say at my house I do have regular tap water, and I also have an RO system. So
okay, so for me, my personal choice, I get asked this a lot: what is the best water in the world? And for me, my professional opinion, it is tap water. If you can access safe, clean, reliable drinking water from a tap within 20 seconds, you are one of the luckiest people on the planet. And for me, being the water sommelier, a water consultant, everything that I do reels back to the value of tap water. So let's go with the tap water first.
Yeah, I've got my cheers.
I have my Thames water.
I'm like, water. Give it a little smell.
Yeah.
It tastes good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it tastes very familiar. That's the word that comes up in my mind right there. It's very, very familiar. This tastes like, quote, average water. Like it doesn't taste like an outlier in any way. It's really what I'm used to, I guess.
Do you know the TDS of the water?
I don't know it. Would I be able to look on my water utility report probably and find that?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll have all of the parameters, microbiological and chemical. But that will give you a good indication of sort of the neutralness of it, or that taste experience. And it's a bit, that TDS level is always a bit like a low TDS. Consider it like a white wine. Higher the TDS, consider it like a red wine.
You're going to get more flavor, stronger flavor in there. Well, I know that my water utility recently put in a granular activated carbon system, just because they have to treat for PFAS. We have a PFAS problem. So I know that we've got like outstanding, when it comes to the quality, safety, that we've got really excellent water. I wonder how that impacts the TDS, and maybe talk about that. I'll see if I can look it up.
Yeah, I think with the activated granular carbon, I don't think it will add or remove TDS. I think it will just either work for the PFAS or maybe knock out the chlorine elements as well.
I want to move to like the RO and see how this is different now, because I think that will be really interesting. So I mentioned I have the reverse osmosis, got this one in my nice piece of crystal here, and it does remineralize. I guess it's got the coconut something that remineralizes the water. Yeah. And this is what I drink predominantly. Yeah, I mean, I love this water. It's a little silkier, I guess it feels, than the tap water. I guess it almost has less flavor in a way than the tap water. It tastes, quote, cleaner, which is, I guess, not the right thing to say, but yeah, I mean, it just is real nice. I always enjoy it. Like I notice it's just like a smoother water, subtler, tastes clean. I mean, those are not flavor adjectives, I guess, but
no, you're absolutely, you're on a roll. This is beautiful.
Okay,
like you are describing your personal connection, your personal review of the water. So there is no right or wrong, but you are using vocabulary to describe the differences between your tap and RO remin water. I was just in Aruba at a desal plant a few weeks ago, and I've created a small little video, but the art of remineralization is beautiful if you focus on that, because you can create some amazing tasting waters. And what I found out on the island of Aruba was that they were using the natural coral rock around the island to do the remin. And I'll tell you, it was outstanding quality water. It tasted like, even the kids were like, wow, this is really good, Dad. And like, yes, my kids do taste a lot of waters with but automatically like, yes, this is very, very nice. It was soft, it was silky, it was smooth, no taste of chlorine. It was a fantastic water.
Yeah. What creates that the real silky water? What minerals are that?
Yeah.
Is that?
So you'll find that with silica-rich waters, are very soft, very silky. I would describe it as hydrophilic feeling. Very, like, it will coat the mouth, and like oily sensation, a creamy sensation. That's what you'll find.
Okay. Yeah, and that's so interesting about the coral. One note: I always like my water like room temperature. You know, I don't usually add ice to my water. You know, I'm not a big ice water. I just like get it, out of the tap kind of, and that's what I prefer. I'm not sure why, but
personal preference. However, when you're talking about temperature of water, okay. The nuances of water really pop out and communicate to you when it's at room temperature. Cold water is very refreshing, but it numbs the palate. But water's in a region of about 16 degrees, around that sweet spot, that's when the water starts to communicate the taste. So when conducting water tastings with friends, family, try to get all of the waters at the same temperature, room temperature, around 16 degrees would be nice.
Okay.
And that's when the magic will start to work.
So I do have some bottled waters here. I do have to be consistent with my past, and I'm not a big fan of waters being shipped all around the world. I feel like in the U.S., like we have some great springs here. We have great sources, but I do have some of the most popular, I think, brands here. I have Liquid Death, I have Avion, I have Fiji, I have Pellegrino here. So recommendation for where I should go first?
Yes, of course. Let's go with Liquid Death first. But just before we start, the relationship with bottled water. Okay, unfortunately, and I'm a big tap water advocate. Clean water, sanitation, it's my thing. The whole element with bottled water is that we need to respect it exactly like you would do with a fine wine, in the sense of they are more than just hydration products. These are natural products from Mother Nature, which have incredible backstories. And if one were to just take a bit more time to do a bit of research in regards to where the water's from, etc., it will provide a better experience with that water. If you're not prepared to do that, just drink tap water. Simple. Yeah. It's but then also identify if it's tap water reprocessed and sold back to you, which in the States and other areas of the world, it's a big thing. Sure.
I hear you. I totally. When I've put up comments about this before, people have said, well, how is that any different from bottling wine in Italy and sending it to the States, or making beer in Germany and sending it to the States, right? Mm-hmm. I get some of that corollary. So this Liquid Death still, and their water's from the Austrian Alps.
Okay.
And I notice I poured it in the glass, and maybe this is just from me pouring. I see like little bubbles. It's not carbonated, but I see little bubbles in there. But maybe that was just from the pouring of the water. Yeah. It
probably comes from a natural source that had quite a bit of dissolved oxygen, so you may see a bubble or two.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean it's really good. I would put it. It reminds me of the RO water a little bit. It seems like it has less flavor, if you will. It doesn't seem as silky. If I'm starting to compare and contrast, as silky as my RO, but it's silkier than the tap. It's really good. This is very, like at all the big concert venues in the United States now, Liquid Death is, what they have a contract with. So very familiar with it.
I think touching on your point of that, there are amazing springs in the US that potentially have a similar mouthfeel than this water that comes from Switzerland or the Swiss Alps. So I totally appreciate your comments on that. And if you can, explore local, because there are some amazing waters across the US that could give the same experience. Maybe not the branding of Liquid Death, with that's not very good job.
Right. It's a great marketing creativity thing that they've done. Absolutely. Yeah, I wonder, like, with any of these brands, they get it from a spring. I wonder what if any filtration they do, right? Do they have to do something just to make sure there's no viruses and bacteria?
Yeah.
And what do they usually do?
So majority of the time there'll be some level of sediment cartridge filters in stages, and maybe a UV for microbiological growth. But again, this isn't something that is public knowledge. So for it to be a natural source, spring, mineral water, the water shouldn't be modified mechanically, chemically, in any way.
Okay, so moving on from Liquid Death, Evian, Fiji, Pellegrino. Where should I go here?
I would go next with Evian.
Okay, and of course this is the famous water from France, from the French Alps here. Been around for a long time, right? They're like one of the. Go ahead.
With Evian, like we talk about vintage with wine. Evian has a 15-year vintage in the sense of when it's rained onto the French Alps, by the time the water's percolated through the rock layers, and then re-emerges, it's a 15-year process. But then I've got some waters behind me that are 20,000, 50,000 year vintage.
What?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So when you're describing waters like this, it captures the imagination. Like, oh wow, okay, we do this to wine. We can do this to water. I've got some waters which are called like cloud juice, which may be a year old because it's actual corrected rainwater directly from clouds.
Wow. Okay, so the Evian water I have here, again, you said 15 years is kind of the time about, right?
Yeah. And go back and forth with maybe the Liquid Death to notice the difference.
Okay. Cheers again.
Cheers.
Yeah, I feel one of the things I pick up is that mouthfeel, really, more than taste even. That really is what I guess I'm sensitive to or can tell. And that's really hydrophilic, like you said. It's just, and that's what I do enjoy a lot, when that water is just like so silky and soft and it's amazing. It feels special.
And what contributes to that is Evian will have a higher calcium level than Liquid Death. And if you hold the two, you'll see the analysis on the back, and that's what provides that. I have a higher calcium magnesium level than Liquid Death.
Okay, interesting. The Evian doesn't have any of those little bubbles that I have in the Liquid Death. Now, maybe that was, I don't know, coming out of a can versus a bottle. I don't know. Or like you said, there could be more oxygen just in the water to begin with.
Yeah. So the cans will leave a certain taste to the water because it's in a can. My preference is I try not to drink from plastic. But if it's a water for an experience, then I will go out to get a glass bottle from a natural source as an experience water, not for hydration purposes. Otherwise, it's my tap or a filtered tap.
Yeah. So on the label here, it says calcium 80, magnesium 26, potassium 1, silica 15, chlorides 10, sulfites 14, bicarbonates 360. So I guess you're really getting a look at the chemistry, and that you can then reflect in the taste.
100%, and it's all on the back of the bottles, and it's just taking that time with bit of education in regards to what you're looking for. And then, these minerals are amazing for your body, for health and well-being. Water isn't water. Water's more like a medicine, if we look at it this way. And there's beautiful drinking water cultures in the US, if you look back at history. And if you look into Europe, people for health and well-being would go to these natural springs. And there's a lot of research in regards to different minerals having different effects for like migraines, stomach issues, etc. So even looking at, if you're feeling fatigued, maybe find a natural water that has a high magnesium level, which can help with your health, your well-being, reduce muscle issues, migraine issues, instead of popping a pill. Because Mother Nature's pharmacies were these natural springs prior to pharmaceutical drugs and pharmacies on every corner.
Yeah, sure. So Fiji or Pellegrino next?
I would go with Fiji and then do a contrast
between those two.
Yeah, with Liquid Death and Evian.
Oh, okay.
And describe what you experience. And
Okay, go back to the liquid death and the Evian and do a little comparison here.
Yeah, just go back and forth.
I noticed I did that a little bit, and I noticed definitely silkier with the Evian. Drinking a lot of water here.
It's good for you.
Yeah, and I don't know what they are, but there seems to be a little more in the liquid death, like a little stronger taste.
Okay.
But definitely the Evian silkier. So I have the Fiji here, and I have to admit I already peeked at the back of the bottle, and it says silica 93, right? And the Evian silica was 15. So I'm expecting this to be, and I knew this is something I knew about Fiji. I knew the Fiji water was that crazy silkiness to it, which I think is what the kids like when the kids like, oh yeah, Fiji. I think they must like, they can't even maybe describe it, but they just know that it's good.
And it's a very high level for water because of its volcanic origins. Volcanic areas always create pretty high silica content waters, and Fiji is a very high natural water with that silica content. But what would be interesting is how you would describe the difference of Fiji and say Evian from 15 milligrams a litre to, was it 94 milligrams?
90 something, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like the biggest fan of the shipping of the water, but it's a good one. It's why I think it's so popular and why so many people buy it when they're grabbing bottled water.
Yeah. So I think like with Fiji, many people don't know about the silica content and what the silica content, the mouthfeel, the taste, the health and well-being of, silica is great for your skin, hair, nails. So there's a lot of marketing of Hollywood making it cool, the price tag on it, etc. But understanding mineral content in water make you better informed decisions when you are prepared to take a deep dive into bottled water and select a water for a certain feeling that you want, or a certain health and well-being element that you want. I think bottled water isn't going to go away, but it's a level of more respect for it. And spending the time having that educational element of, okay, if I'm prepared to taste Mother Nature, let me give her some respect and experience it in the best way that I can.
Well, I'd say the Fiji, like comparatively, it almost feels lighter. I mean, it's like, it feels more delicate, right? Like this, it has less weight to it, even in my mouth,
Yeah, 100%, because where the Evian has a higher calcium level, you probably find it a bit more weightier on the mouthfeel. With the Fiji, where it's just super high in the silica, it is like a silk, where it just glides over the palate. So you're absolutely right.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this plays in at all, but like the Evian's a 7.2 pH, and this Fiji says 7.7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pH, there's a lot of trash. What I consider the chicken nugget of waters. Everybody knows chicken nuggets are super processed and not good for you. So, if you see a bottle of water on the supermarket shelves that pH regulate, pH your body, pH enhance yourself, just stay away. All this is processed tap water, and you cannot pH regulate your body with water. Your stomach acids are for certain acidic conditions, like I think 2.8 to 3. So drinking these alkaline, factory processed, electrolyte-less waters, it's a bit of a con, in my professional opinion.
You see all this high alkaline water, right? And I know that even like professional athletes, it's a big thing. I know a lot of professional basketball players I see, like they've got their like 8.8 or 9.0 alkaline water and this special stuff they get, and they think that that's going to give them some edge or something, but I don't know.
It's one of these, okay? A natural source water is probably the same price or cheaper than these factory-made waters, and there is no fairy tale of water being made in a factory.
Right, right.
But the fairy tale of, a naturally rich magnesium water where Pegasus hit his hoof on the ground so hard that this spring erupted. It's beautiful fairy tale, and there's beautiful communication on the value of water. I've been doing this for a long time, and I still struggle to create a beautiful fairy tale of a Dasani or a Pepsi Cola or a Coca-Cola branded water manufacturing. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
These styles of water, for me, if there is an area where the tap waters have been compromised, etc., and having these processed tap waters bottled, yeah. For emergency situations, yes. But where it's just been mass marketed, smart waters inspired by clouds, etc., it's not inspired by clouds. It is a chicken nugget of the water world.
Love
and
it.
what happens? You eat too many chicken nuggets.
That's right. It's not healthy for you. So you said Avion is about a 15-year vintage, right? That's the process. Do you happen to know what Fiji is?
Fiji's in the region of about 30 years. Yeah.
Okay.
It's still a young water, but it's picked up a beautiful silica level just due to the volcanic region. So, there's many natural springs that are close to very volcanoes, and these waters originate from there. And Costa Rica has a pretty nice special high silica. Japan has some very nice high silica natural waters as well.
Got this very legendary one to go to here, the Pellegrino glass bottle, which I appreciate.
So just before you crack that open,
the
original source for San Pellegrino, it's a still water with added carbonation. So if you were to experience San Pellegrino direct from the spring, it's a beautiful area. It's a still water.
Okay. Have you? I imagine have you traveled around to some of these sources for some of these iconic ones or other ones?
Yeah, I like to find just off the beaten track sort of natural springs. I've visited Harrogate, Buxton here in the UK. There's a few sources in Slovenia as an advisor to the Bled Water Festival that happens each year. So it's a bit of a hobby of mine,
Of course, yeah.
Bringing springs and understanding how these waters have been formed and the historical connotations to them as well.
Okay. Well, I pour this, and I instantly see I don't think it's going to come out on the camera, but I instantly see some bubbles. It says natural mineral water with natural CO2 added. So it's not like full bubbles, but it's definitely in there. So I'm very interested to try this. Yes, it is. Yeah. You got the carbonation there for sure. Which is a different experience, right? The still versus the sparkling, right?
There's many naturally carbonated waters, i.e. the carbonation under sheer pressure, CO2 water under the surface of the earth. These waters come up with the bubbles within. So this is a product of Mother Nature, and these are absolutely fascinating because you can play on the size of the bubbles and the mouthfeel as well if you were looking to pair with foods and wines. Like San Pellegrino, for me, great for barbecued meats or vegetables. It's got a pretty robust bubble. The mineral composition and the bicarbonate in this water, it's very refreshing. But what happens is when you drink high mineral content waters, some people may go, oh, because their brains are trained that water should be dull, should be flat, and they may be used to drinking packaged processed waters. But what happens, and I see this with people when I'm conducting water tasting experiences, they try these high mineral content waters and they're like, oh, wow. And it's the brain telling you, wow, can I have some more of those minerals? Because it's helping the function of the body. The magnesiums help with the nervous system, etc., potassium, bicarbonate. But then with San Pellegrino, potentially a spicy food and maybe, where it coats the mouth, or the high bicarbonate can help neutralize as well.
If I'm reading these labels right, it looks like it's on the higher side of calcium. If I'm reading it correctly. I think in the States, like pretty historically, it's just been all still water. I mean, we've had these kind of things, but it's been that the bubbles were more of a European thing, really, honestly, But it started to creep in, especially as people travel more internationally and everything. I enjoy it. It's like a really nice change, and I found like when I was in Germany, for example, I was opting for the sparkling a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Germany, there's an absolutely beautiful drinking water culture. They have over 800 naturally occurring springs. And what is amazing in Germany, they call it Hilsewasser. So these are registered natural mineral waters for health and well-being. So, for example, if you've got migraine issues, the doctor would say, drink this water for a week and see how you go, how you get on. And they sell these registered waters in pharmacies. And it's all about the mineral content in the waters to help replenish the body. I think like each time I visit Germany, I'm amazed like at their water selection in the supermarket. But they have a very good return scheme for the bottled waters. And this, like in the UK, they're still umming and ahhing about how this is going to be implemented. But many countries, Denmark, where I was working on the Facebook project on the hyperscale data center as their in-house water commissioning engineer, you could return your bottles for like 10 cents, 15 cents, depending on what it was. And that encourages recycling and not throwing it out into the environment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I was in Germany, it was very interesting for me how you go to a restaurant and you have to pick bottled water, right? Like they're not bringing you tap water.
Yes.
And what's the reasoning for that?
It's just, from my understanding, it's just the German way of the respect of water. Each water that they actually know that, okay, this will have a large bubbles, these will have a smaller bubbles, these will have a higher mineral content, so maybe a water to have after a large meal, or a water as an aperitif. So from my understanding, they have that connection of regional waters to be served in such a way. So their bottled water intake is pretty high, but I think they're very in tune to the why. It's not to open it because it's fashionable or it's promoted in such a way that bottled water is better than tap water, because there's some amazing tap waters in Germany as well.
I do have a German bottled water here, Gerolsteiner.
Beautiful water. This water.
It looks like it's got really. I mean, if I'm interpreting things right, it looks like it's got really high calcium levels.
Yeah.
In a per serving, it says 130 milligrams. I don't know what that works out to per whatever, but and also like a pretty good dose of magnesium too.
Yeah. So if you were to try the difference between San Pellegrino and
I'm going for it.
The naturally occurring carbonated water.
Okay, the German.
Yeah. It's like the Red Bull of waters. This, like for me, Friday. You've had a very long week. I will drink, say, Gerolsteiner, and I'll feel good.
Oh yeah, those bubbles that's a good hit. It's got even more flavor than the Pellegrino. It's definitely, the bubbles are more intense, and there's like I can't put my words on what the flavor is, but it's just kind of got a little something more going on in it. I like that. Yeah.
I find that the water has a slight sort of zinginess from the magnesium. So it's got a bit of zing to it, with a bit of a sort of, those sherbet did that when you were a kid without the sweetness. That's right. What bicarbonate comes through, that sherbetiness.
Okay.
But it's not sweet. Yeah, that will definitely come through in a water like that. It's very water.
It says high mineral content on the front, so
Yes.
they're really touting that because people are seeking that. They know that it's good for them.
Yeah.
You know, I find Europeans to be so much more evolved in many different ways, so much more cultured and civilized and attuned to things, and so it makes sense to me that their water selection and attentiveness is along those same lines. You know,
Yeah, I guess the geology of Germany as well, with very old volcanic regions, create these special high mineral content waters.
Wow.
And each region will have their specific waters.
Okay, now that I'm looking on the back of this, I see the real calcium levels that kind of compare per liter to the other ones, and this is light years higher. The Gerolsteiner with the calcium magnesium bicarbonate. Yeah, very, very total mineral content, 2,500 milligrams per liter rather. All right, well, I'm glad that I went through this, because now I have like a little bit of a favorite if I'm gonna have to pick. You know, like I'm all about the German, which is great because that's a big part of my ancestry is the German ancestry. So that fits for me. I wanted to ask you kind of one of the things you do, and I encourage people to follow you on social media. You got great stuff on Instagram. You know, hydrate the imagination. Lift up there and show your shirt. You got that great hydrate the imagination shirt. We might have to do a swap. I'll mail you a Waterloop shirt if I could get one of those.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your kind of efforts to be out there in this educational role. I mean, you've talked about schools and stuff, but you're out there at festivals and fairs, and you're snagging people and you're asking them questions. Just talk about what you do and what you hear out of that.
Yeah, of course. It's just me just having a bit of fun. You know, I've really sort of got that buzz of people encouraging me to continue. However, what I really would like to do is take this element for others to learn and express and teach others, because I think if we continue doing this, our relationship with waters, tap water especially, I really want this to be elevated for individuals, communities to request better tap water, but understand why tap water is tastes in a certain way. And yeah, it's just me just being me. I've always been a water advocate from a young age. And now, you know, all of the jokes aside and, you know, what's he doing about water? Water's just the same, etc. I think people are becoming more focused on water as more than just a hydration product. You can have some fun with it. But the key message is, what can you do to enable everybody in this world, on this planet, to have access to clean water and sanitation? So sometimes, you know, these water tasting events that I can do, it inspires others that may want to contribute to some charities or change their drinking water habits and create a drinking water lifestyle, drinking water culture, which is more sustainable. So every day is a different day. And when I'm not working in the water industry as a water consultant, you know, I'm having fun. And I'm an advisor to the Bled Water Festival and the London Water and Steam Museum. So, you know, every month I'll head down there and just provide free water tasting experiences for families to come in and join in. And it's very rewarding. It genuinely is like something truly special when you know that you've changed someone's perception to drinking water.
Yeah. What's like one of the most commonly heard things for you during these interactions with the public? You know, what's kind of like a reaction or a thought that you hear?
Yeah. Genuinely, why didn't they teach us this in school?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I get that a lot. I get messages from parents, what have you done to my children? They're not interested in fizzy pop anymore. They're intrigued about water and they're drinking loads, you know. But why didn't they teach us this when we were young?
I love it.
Something I get a lot. Yeah.
Well, and here I am at my age, learning this from you, kind of for the first time at a proper level. So I appreciate it. I poured myself a refill of the Gerolsteiner. That's what I'll be sipping on at my desk. It's very, very good. Milin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Travis. And again, thank you for all the work that you do, the content, elevating the importance of water, and especially the work that you do with the indigenous people and giving a voice. That is truly special, and more of this needs to be done. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See ya.
Okay, cheers. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and thanks to the sponsor, Flume. Please check them out at flumewater.com. To find all episodes, sign up for email updates, and connect on social media, visit waterloop.org.